Hello, my beautiful woman. I am so excited to be doing another episode of Lingerie and Lattes. And if you've seen my previous episodes, I was talking, I think this is 2 episodes ago, so 2 weeks ago, I was talking about doing something sensually for yourself as a woman in order to increase libido and have that be more under your control then it seems like something that's completely out of your control and is just dictated by outside circumstances, your hormones, and all these things. Yes, libido is absolutely influenced by outside events. However, you can strengthen your own libido by doing things internally that turn you on. And yes, of course, hormones do play a role into libido. However, again, as we support ourselves in the process of increasing that libido and healing our sensuality, then we can make it more than what it's already there, perhaps biologically. So with that being said, I wanted to share, this is lingerie and lattes. So I'm wearing some nice red lingerie. And obviously you can't see that in the video very much until I showed it to you. And the point of me sharing this is because a lot of the times we think that sensuality has to be something that is shown or proven, especially when it comes to intimacy with our partners. But really, it doesn't, it's more subtle than that. Yes, men are very visual creatures, I would say. However, if a woman isn't feeling turned on in herself, it's going to be really difficult to connect to your man. And ultimately, that's the goal we want to happen during times of intimacy, because naturally you want to be not only pleasuring yourself, but also pleasuring your partner and feeling a greater connection growing. So if you haven't seen that, please go back 2 weeks and review so you can learn how to increase sensuality for yourself. Today's subject is going to be diving more into the masculine and the feminine, and we're going to do that from exploring the idea of not just polarity, but I would say opposition, something that is contrast, not contradictory. Many people think that women and men have all these fights and arguments and they really can't ever understand each other because we're wired differently. I see that more as an opportunity to understand each other better and actually to complement each other more strongly, because one person has a weakness where the other person supplies strength innately. All right. With that being said as well, I have recently been including my oracle pulls into the lingerie and lattes. However, I am on a 5-week cleanse from all spiritual tools, as well as other things, including personal life and so forth. So for the next 5 weeks, I do have to avoid doing oracle pulls. And hopefully after this 5 weeks, I will be able to bring those back in and have a little bit of a reading from the decks. Thank you for taking me walking with me in this process. So if you don't know who I am Olivia Drumaga. I founded Vulcan Ability back in 2020. I believe it was in April. And what this is meant to do is really to show women and men what the path is for monogamy and lifetime intimacy. So if we can find a way to nourish the sensual self throughout our life and to really connect with our partners romantically on a physical level that goes beyond the physical, of course, that's really my ultimate goal, is for people to walk that ideal relationship and really just live it, because it's possible. It's right here. We're all around each other. We are social animals by nature. And if we are exploring what it means to be in love, what it means to have a family, then having intimacy as a positive influence in your life, and also a woven thread throughout, not just when it needs to happen or your husband's asking for it and so forth, that makes everything so much more organic. It makes you feel more connected to your body, makes you feel more relaxed, because of course we let out all of these amazing hormones during intimacy. All right, let's get into the subject for today. I want to stay on topic. So, differences is something that's seen usually as a struggle for couples. And I will share that I've seen a few couples, this isn't me personally, but many people say that common interests are the glue of a relationship. Now, there's definitely some truth to that. I do think that it's nice to have common interests essentially with your partner. However, I will say I have met some couples where, frankly, even within themselves, they struggle to find a common interest that they enjoy doing together. Um, However, it really works. And that's because this idea of differences, I think, is being overlooked when we look at relationships and what makes something work and all these things. So it really is dependent upon you and who you are. If you feel comfortable sharing common interests with your partner, I suggest you find yourself in a relationship that supports that. If you are just in love with the person and have no qualm within you about not having a common interest, and it's more about like noise externally that's kind of dictating the fact that you should feel wrong about that, you know, just try to let that go during this episode. Let's listen to the words that I'm sharing with you and see if this resonates. All right, so common interests are wonderful, right? They are kind of this outward external connection that we can have with a partner that can also increase in sensuality, because if you're both really passionate about a subject and you're both doing it together, and you find this person physically attractive and all those other things, that just really amps it up. However, there's a lot to be said for differences. And I know there's innate differences between men and women, but even if we go a little bit further and interests, if we take differences in interests, I always think it's positive or not, I don't want to say right, but right for me to explore another person's, my partner's interests with an open curiosity. And I don't have to fall in love with the thing that they love, whether it's going out, maybe hiking or fishing or playing video games, whatever that subject is that they really love. I don't have to fall in love with it. Nobody's forcing me to do so, but I do want to explore, learn, and understand a little bit more about it. And I think that's where the key of connection comes into play, because if we are connecting through another person's eyes, through another person's passion, we're basically connecting through their hearts, and we're bringing it into the material. Because if you think about something you're so passionate about, you love, for me that's belly dancing, for me that's also painting, that makes me feel really good. I feel excited about it. I love doing it. I could spend hours doing it and so forth. That's the kind of energy that you're inviting into who you are and your being. So you're really inviting your man to be shown what it means for you to be passionate. So that's kind of a big one. I'm going to let you sit with that just for a moment. If we as women are open enough to also be putting down our, I would say, judgments or just our nature to put something down that we don't know yet, I think it's pretty difficult for us to be open-minded without reservations for men's subjects, because I see a lot of the pervading culture with men and women is that men are stupid, that they don't know what they're doing, they're lazy, and all of these, I would say, really disrespectful associations, characteristics are represented and kind of embodied by women. So if we desire to have that connection with our partner in terms of your interests, your passions, maybe you two want to paint together. Maybe it's something that you want to share with him. Maybe you're really into rock climbing, but the person is kind of hesitant about outdoor activities or heights. How can you bridge a gap in order for them to feel comfortable exploring your passion, but also be respectful of their boundaries? This is really the question that we want to come to when it comes to differences and wanting to build relationships that are connected. The next idea around relationships with their differences is an hold on, I wanted to segue into another area, but let me just take a moment. Okay, so there's another idea around differences that I want to bring up around specifically intimacy and kind of how after a woman and men have to close their intimacy differently. And then I want to get into this, it's a slightly different topic than differences, but let's see if I get to it today, or if not, I'll just push that over to next week. So let's talk about physical intimacy. And in general, women, we've already kind of heard this many times, women are more emotional. We really connect deeply to a man during intimacy, whereas a man connects deeply to a woman outside of intimacy, physical intimacy. Again, it's just the way that our biochemistry is set up for. And if we think about physical intimacy and what it means for us as women to feel complete or secure, I would say after we've had sensual pleasure together, probably takes a little bit more for a woman. Most of the times, and from the cases I have personally seen, that's usually the case. Most of the time, women are not comfortable in their bodies. That's kind of a sad fact. We have this idea of body positivity, we have this idea of acceptance, but that's the surface level. It's kind of like, oh, I like who I am in the mirror, but then when you see yourself naked in a bed, your hamster wheel starts running. So a woman after physical intimacy, from the woman I've worked with, have usually needed to ask for things in order to feel like they have completed their intimacy. For men, this is kind of a concept that is like out of their peripheral vision. So if you think about your peripheral vision, if I'm looking straight ahead, I can still see things on the sides. I can still see a certain distance. Now, after the peripheral vision is kind of like something behind my head. I have no idea what's there. I can't see it until I turn around. For men, that's this idea of aftercare. That's kind of how I've been taught it to be called aftercare. This is especially prevalent in the kink blueprint of sex. So I would even bring it into any sort of physical intimacy because, again, women are not comfortable in their bodies. A lot of women and men have experienced not just trauma from actual abuse and assault in the physical sense, but mentally, if you've been exposed to porn since you were younger, since, I don't know, 13, 18, 12, whatever, you're already kind of being wired for a lot of violent acts. And all of that can add to who you are in the bedroom now, because you don't really think about the idea of cleansing yourself from partners. You don't really think about the idea of maybe the things that you were just exposed to are not the best and they're not real. So when we think about what is aftercare, it's almost like this, when you tie the bow on a present, and that's when you know it's ready to be presented to the person as a gift. Like that's the final touch. That's how I see aftercare. So we have a lot of information and people not exposing, but more sharing how foreplay is extremely important, especially for women, which is sound advice. I think we all agree that we need a longer amount of time than most men do to be aroused as quickly as they are. And then you have the actual like section where you have most likely penetration and all of this like juiciness that you associate immediately with sex. And then finally, you have aftercare. And if you're a woman with a man, um, having intimacy, that concept of aftercare is going to be pretty much on totally different spectrums for both of you. A man more or less needs to simply get dressed, fall asleep, do the normal, I would say. The normal, what you expect, what you kind of see on TV, you know, just kind of go about your day. It doesn't really matter. For a woman, again, this could be, I will put a caveat here. For men, especially if this is a different style of sex than you've been used to, you probably need more aftercare. If you've always been doing very light, energetic touch, and all of a sudden you're more sensual and a lot more body contour, touching, kissing, feeling things very intensely with your senses, you might need some chill time. You might need some space and all of these things. So yes, sometimes men's aftercare is a little bit more complex, but on the general spectrum, it doesn't have too much thought put into it, too much associations with what it means to feel complete after intimacy. For a woman, feels a little different, feels a little bit more like if you have allowed yourself, your body to experience orgasm or even states of heightened pleasure that are not, you know, orgasm to the fullest extent, then you probably need some grounding. You most definitely, I would say, need some grounding. How you receive that is different for every person. I think, though, it is a better idea to have the person you've just been intimate with and just allowed into your body to be the one grounding you. Because if you think about it, there's a certain weight that you can feel when somebody puts their arm on you or their leg on you in some sense, and that can feel very protective. That can feel safe and almost like you can take a deep breath. So again, this might be kind of abnormal for men if you are watching this. This is kind of geared for women because I think we understand this experience. For men, it probably isn't as of an in-depth process at the end of intimacy. But again, for women, it's kind of like this idea where we now know that it's been closed, like the door has been closed. That part of ourselves is all safe and secure. Nobody's going to look at us. Nobody's going to judge us. Nobody's going to be able to enter us without our consent and privacy. So even though it doesn't seem like a big deal to ground somebody or to give you aftercare in a different sense, maybe that's, you know, helping the person like go, I don't know, like prepare the shower for them because you know that that's their aftercare. Maybe that's something for a lot of men as well, to have a sense of cleanliness after. It's different for everybody. But again, for a woman, we need to remind ourselves, how do we want to experience this? And what can I ask of my partner in order to receive that? That's part one. First, you need to figure out what do you need after intimacy. Second part, you need to ask, you know, the partner for what you want. And then third is going to be, now how do I reciprocate this? How do I integrate the aftercare? And now I'm able to give to my partner. So if we're able to boldly speak for what we need, and again, for men, it could be different, which is why I've included this part into the conversation. What if you need a chat after intimacy and your partner needs silence? How do you deal with that? Well, there's things you can agree upon. Maybe there's, you know, a limit to how much you're speaking in that time of intimacy. Maybe there's a limit of how soon you speak before, because you want to honor the person's silence. Maybe it could be like, I don't want you to just, you know, be done with it and walk out and go take a shower, but maybe I want you to say a few words to me right before you're about to get up. But in that time, you know, we can stay quiet. You can just process. I can process. Those are ways to build intimacy and also fulfill both of your needs in the aftercare process. And again, build connection. So I do think I'm going to close out here. I'm going to save this next subject, which is around humor, for the following week. So you can please do subscribe if you are interested in more of this content. And I'm so excited to be sharing this with you all. Have an absolutely magical Friday. And remember, I will be opening up the doors to my Vulcan Ability Academy waitlist very soon. So stay tuned for that. Please subscribe and have a beautiful day.